Welcome, everybody, to Fergo and the Freak. My name is the Glorious League Freak. This is episode 214 and I have a super special guest. It is Nadine. How are you, Nadine?
I'm good, Freaky. How are you?
I'm pretty good. We put out a thing on Twitter last week asking if people wanted pre-round previews, and they said yes overwhelmingly. It was good to finally put out a poll where it was an overwhelming decision people made instead of being indecisive pricks. So we're going to get stuck into it this week, hey?
Great to hear. Let's do it.
So, well, first of all, we're going to talk about the sponsor, okay?
Yes.
So if you go to manscaped.com and you put in our exclusive code from Fergo and the Freak, which is NRL, you'll get 20% off of all of your orders. You will also get free shipping. I highly recommend the Lawnmower 3.0. If you want to get match ready, this is what you got to get, fellas. You got to get the Lawnmower 3.0. So just go on there, put it in your cart, make sure you put in the code NRL, get 20% off, get your free shipping. They're shipped from Australia. They're also shipped, if you're in the UK, they ship from the UK. They're also in Canada as well for all our Canadian and North American listeners. So it's not like they have to send it across the world. They've got them in the individual places. So, go on there, manscaped.com, put in the code NRL and get 20% off. Get the Lawnmower 3.0. It is really, really good. So, round 13 of the National Rugby League. And Nadine, our team just is kind of dominating this competition. Everyone's just playing for second place at this point, eh?
Oh, absolutely. They've been flying high, and this week's matchup will be interesting. But what I took away from last week in particular was really up until that game, everybody, it was, Penrith are lucky. It's, or other teams haven't performed as expected. There's an element of truth there, particularly I think with the Roosters in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But I think a comprehensive victory over a team like Manly, whilst a little bit injury depleted, they're a bit of a grinding side and they do know how to nab, victory from the jaws of defeat from time to time. Mm-hmm. But having that be so comprehensive, more so than the win against the Sharks, given they let less points in, so it was a better defensive effort.
Yeah.
It had a lot of experts, using that term loosely, really changing their tune this week with regards to the actual premiership credentials of the team. So I think they're actually getting the kudos they deserve. And what they're showing, more so than a lot of other teams who have got quite a number of injuries, is the depth that they actually have across the park, every position, and even the ability for people to switch positions if need be, mid-flight and not miss a beat.
Yeah, it's like this is one of the years where our depth is really, like we've had it from time to time over the years, but this year it's like, it's finally working for us at the right time too. It's not when we're like in 14th place or something ridiculous and you're like, it's cool, we've got depth for injuries. All right, so let's get stuck into it. So on Thursday night, we have a blockbuster between the Dragons and the Roosters. There's lots of talk about Kyle Flanagan being dropped for this game. Some people are losing their minds. You were actually telling me you think this is a fantastic idea.
I love it. I think he's completely overrated, and really do believe that if he was in a underperforming team, or a team that is struggling and doesn't necessarily have the forward pack that he currently plays behind now, or the halves partner that he has in Luke Keary, I don't think that he gets the praise that is heaped upon him. So I actually really like that Robinson's also come out and said, no, I dropped him. It's not resting. It's, not an injury. There's no smokes and mirrors here. He's just not been up to scratch. So I love the inclusion of Lockie Lamb into the team. And I actually think that will give Keary more of an ability to run the show. So interestingly, obviously it'll be on the flip side. It'll be interesting to see how St. George Illawarra go with having to move Ben Hunt back into the halves. just McInnes wasn't firing there early on, but in a head-to-head matchup, McInnes is far superior to Friend. So it'll be really interesting to see how that all plays out. Obviously the forwards need to be doing their jobs as well to be able to see that.
Yeah, and it's like there was a lot of people saying how the Roosters rotate their squad. I don't remember them doing that too much. I know they've pulled like some of their forwards out of the squad from time to time. But I think the Roosters, like a lot of people are saying, they're going to win the comp and stuff, and I don't see it. I really don't see it. I think that they're in about the right place that they belong on the ladder. They've got all of those injuries with their forwards. I don't think Sonny Bill Williams is going to fix up their team too much. And when you're naming like a winger like Ryan Hall in your side, I mean, your squad isn't that good.
No, that's exactly right. Looking at their lineup right now, I mean, you're seeing some names there, but it feels like a weak squad. And I don't know if that's weak compared to what we're used to seeing, or weak compared to what we're seeing from other teams. I mean, any team, though, that's got Tedesco, he's obviously a game breaker, and it doesn't take much for him to turn a game on its head. But the same can be said for Dufty, and Dufty's obviously proven that week in, week out, and certainly since St George has seen a bit of a resurgence in recent weeks.
Yeah, hang on, I think I might be getting that delivery. Fuck. Hang on, just give me a second. I can edit this out. just give me a moment. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. I was also getting a delivery.
Oh, right. Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
That's fucking creepy.
My doorbell got stuck and it just kept going off. So I was like running out here with my phone on mute to turn the doorbell off.
Well, it's all right. We can edit it. You know what I mean?
Just edit.
That's hilarious. Wow.
Oh my God.
That's so fucking weird. I'm creeped out by that. Jesus.
I knew it would happen. I was expecting something. I knew it would come whilst I was on this call.
Yeah, so did I. I was like, they come later on in the afternoon, but I bet they're fucking early today.
Yeah.
Wow. We might edit it so that people hear that we got a bloody parcels at the same time. It's like, geez.
So strange.
I know. It's like, can you just chill, adult shop? All right, far out. Okay, now back to the footy.
Back to the footy.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that obviously Tedesco's class, and they've got the grand final credentials. There's no doubt about that. Two-time defending champions. But yeah, I agree with you. I look at their squad, and it looks very beatable, especially after all the injuries they've had. And I just don't get how I can watch a game on TV and they will praise the Roosters crazily like they're unbeaten, and then they lose the game.
Yeah.
You know, or they just win it against a so-so team. So in saying that, they're sitting fourth on the ladder. They're doing what they've got to do. And I always have felt for the Roosters that it's not about the regular season for them. It's just get to the finals and let's use the experience, and they know they can get the job done. Yeah. Now, for the Dragons, they have lost Corey Norman, I believe.
Yes.
They've dropped Adam Clune is back into the team, as is Trent Marin.
Yeah.
They've been playing a little bit better. Matt Dufty has been pretty good. He's been in form, but it's still the Dragons, and they probably should get smacked in this one.
I'm actually thinking it's going to be a lot closer than that. I think
really?
In some of my tipping comps where this is the margin game, I've only got the Roosters winning by 4-8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can just see that St George could frustrate the Roosters and frustrate them to a point where they're their own worst enemies.
Yeah.
You know, there's obviously some weaknesses there with Ikavalu and Hall on the wings. And I can just see that, you know, trying to push that pass could prove too much. So I'm expecting it to be a little bit closer than a blowout. I mean, and based on recent form as well, in terms of the Roosters, where there's been a few recent games where everyone had them as, short priced 13 plus, and they've had to really grind it out.
Yeah. Okay. See, I've just got a thing against the Dragons. I wrote them off so early in the season where there's a few teams like that where I'm like, oh yeah, this will be a blowout, and they're one of those teams.
Yeah.
Friday evening, 6 p.m, we have the Manly Seagulls taking on what's left of the New Zealand Warriors. The Warriors lost Blake Green during the week. He decided that he didn't want to stick around and he wanted to go up the highway to play for Newcastle, which I think will be, not the worst move for the New Zealand Warriors. I think Green is highly overrated. Chanel Harris-Tavita comes in, and it'll be good to see him get footy for the rest of the year. I don't know why they kept screwing around with his position. They take on the Manly Seagulls, who are absolutely trounced by the Panthers, but the Seagulls should bounce back against the Warriors this week.
Yeah, I would think so as well. Looking at both the squads, I totally agree with Harris-Tavita and your comments there. I mean, he was a shining light even at the back end of last year, and the fact he's been in and out and up and down more than a yo-yo, does nothing for his development as a player, but he's clearly been a better option in terms of long term for the club as well. So I think Green also going to the Knights is actually a win-win situation right around. I love the inclusion of Cade Cust in the Manly side, and I think he's very underrated as a half, and would really love to see him get more game time moving forward. Obviously, still some injury concerns, even with those players named. Like Sirenen's really struggling with
the way
ongoing
his
injuries.
Went underneath him last week. That was scary. That was like, man, he's back in this week, but if your knee can do that, you're carrying something that could end your career, I reckon, at any point.
Yeah, I mean, look, and it kind of leads you to think, you look at all of the forwards, but I look at that back row in particular of, Thompson, Siren and Trbojevic, and they all have the same mentality and, that real workhorse, team first mentality, obviously really led by Jake in that regard. So there's obviously some of that coming out, I suppose, with Sirenen's desire to just, put me on the field, coach, I'll do the job for you kind of approach. I think here, for me, the weakest positions for both teams are the nines. So it'll be interesting to see how they all come out of that. I'd like to see Cherry Evans probably ducking in and playing a hooking role a little bit more, and giving Cuss the opportunity to really drive some of the play, because I think Cherry Evans offers more ducking in and out of that hooking and half spot than Levi offers. And as just a full-time hooker.
It's so weird. Like a few weeks ago, I was talking about how good Cherry Evans is and how he's underrated. And I think I might have killed his career because he's not played well since then. And of course, he was in that game where I put money on getting the entire round right. And I was like, oh, Manly versus the Dragons, easy. And yeah, Cherry Evans had that game and it's still sitting with me. I didn't think it would, but I'm still holding that grudge.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know what to say about the Warriors. It's pretty valiant, what they're doing. And Tuivasa-Sheck has come out and, said this week, he's obviously dealing with a lot of stuff, and the fact that, his baby was only 6 months old when they came over here and is now 9 months old, and, he's missing a lot of those early milestones that, everyone wants to see. And I think that just highlights exactly what they're all giving up. I heard some really interesting things during the week as well about the infectiousness, pardon the pun given the current situation, of Jack Hetherington in the squad, and what, the enthusiasm that he's bringing and how that's rubbing off on the rest of the team, and particularly that forward pack. So, and I think that's where the benefit of these loans, is coming to the fore. These guys are getting game time that they wouldn't be getting right now. But, you've got guys like, Jack Hetherington, who are also just loving the fact that they can play, and, you know, giving, I suppose, these guys who are probably from day to day ebbing and flowing in terms of their emotional stability, you know, a little bit of a lift. So I've been really impressed with his offerings so far.
Yeah, he's been good, and like it's interesting to see a player leave your club on loan, and you're just happy for him. You're happy about the whole situation. He's getting game time. He's proving to be a very good player. And the weird thing about the Warriors is the more players that they're losing out of their side for whatever reason, they're going home or whatever, the better they're actually playing. So, you know, that's a little bit of a weird situation. But we both, I'm guessing, are tipping the Sea Eagles to win that one, yeah?
Yeah. Sea Eagles, probably 1-12, I think would be fair.
Yeah, I would agree.
Although it is at Lotto Land. I mean, but it's 6 o'clock. No one will be there.
Well, why would that be any different from any other day in Manly? You know? They're all so big. It's like, can you imagine being a Manly fan? It's like, do I want COVID or asbestos? So, next game is the one that Anthony Seibold is in a straitjacket over right now. It's the Rabbitohs, the 8th place Rabbitohs, taking on the Brisbane Broncos. And the one thing about this game is that Anthony Seibold is not even thinking about Wayne Bennett at all. Not at all.
Not inside his head whatsoever.
No, he just doesn't even mention him, you know.
No.
You know, what do you...
Let me ask you, what are your thoughts over the last couple of weeks where you've had club greats, you know, even Seibold himself coming out saying, oh, you know, 2 weeks ago, you know, they played for 40 minutes, you know, yay, job well done. And then last week it was, oh, well, you know, they were in it for 70 minutes. What are your thoughts on that kind of mentality in regards to praise, I suppose?
Yeah, I don't understand it because, like, there is talent at the Broncos. And the thing I found really weird is that former Broncos players that are in the media talking about the club, they either love to absolutely savage the club, like, and the Broncos, yeah, they're having a bad season. But every team's had a bad season. But apparently the Broncos are different. Just ask them. And so they either launch into the club or they actually say, you know what? I know they're all the way down the bottom of the ladder, but they're not that bad, really. And it's like, it's just such a weird situation. And I think it must be because it's a one team, one town sort of, you know, what else can you do? They've got to create the content somewhere. But yeah, I'm not a fan of like, they played one good half of football. It's like, well, congratulations. You win nothing if you play one good half of footy. The thing about it is I think Seibold is completely clueless as a coach, and you don't often see that. He seems to have no answers. He's a passenger in that organisation. And obviously, like, remember about a month ago, he said, listen, if it gets to the point where I think I need to stand down, I'll stand down and they won't have to pay me out. And then the next week he's like, well, I've got a contract. And he's not going to stand down. It's like, you fucking snake. Why would you say that if you weren't going to do it? So they've got a number of players coming back this week. They've got Brodie Croft. David Fafita might be back, but he was supposed to be back last week.
He's named, you know, in the starting lineup.
Yeah, so I hope he's back. I love watching him play. And Mr. Parole is back in the side as well up front. And they've dumped Anthony Milford, which, you know,
that is a great call.
Well, he needed to kick up the arse, but the thing is, like, I'm with Anthony Seibold. I think the problem with the Broncos is their wingers.
Oh no, not both of them.
Oh, or just keep dropping wingers. Eventually, they'll win games. That seems to be his plan. The
problem is that I mean, as with any team, and saw this with Panthers last year in particular. If your forwards are not laying the platform, nobody else in the team can do anything. You might have flashes of individual brilliance here and there from a winger or a fullback who does something freakish, or, you know, there's an intercept, something against the run of play. But if you are not consistently burning through the middle and up the field and having those forwards lay the platform, it doesn't matter who you've got running the show, you're never going to get anywhere. So, Payne Haas, David Fafita, Pangai Jr., they really need to aim up this week. Easier said than done against, Burgess, Stewart and Sirinen, obviously. But, in terms of size, they should monster them. But, on paper, that's what should happen. It's just whether the desire is there. And I just don't know whether they've got the desire.
Yeah, and I also think that there's times where they look okay in attack, but it seems to be individuals. It never looks like the whole team is going well in attack on a certain set. Like there'll be a set where you'll be like, wow, Payne Haas looks like steamroller. And then the next set you'll be like, wow, Pangai Jr., steamroller. But they're not doing it all at the same time. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, no, I agree. They're a frustrating team to watch. Like even as a, obviously I'm not a Broncos supporter, but God, they frustrate me to watch them. So I don't know how Broncos supporters are surviving this season.
No, neither do I. And I think that I look at some of the class players in the Rabbitohs team. They could put the cleaners through the Broncos if they hook things up, and they've done it a couple of times this year where everything just seems to work for the Rabbitohs. And I feel like this could be one of those games where that just everything falls into place. And man, I can't wait to see Anthony Seibold in the press conference if that happens. It'll be just brilliant.
Yes, bring out the dogs.
Yes. So speaking of dogs, Storm versus Bulldogs, 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon. What can you say about the Bulldogs? They're playing better under Steve Georgalis, but they're probably going to get absolutely whipped in this game. I know Pappenhausen is out for the Melbourne Storm, as is Cameron Smith, but, it's the Melbourne Storm. They'll probably
lose nothing, though, do they, really?
Yeah, it's like we'll all be saying, what are they going to do without Cameron Smith in there? Well, I put Brandon Smith in, and they'll probably name some 19-year-old from Central Queensland that we don't even know yet, and he's probably going to rip it up and be the next Australian captain. So that seems to be how that works down there in Melbourne, hey?
Yeah, well, obviously they've named some unknown at fullback.
Nico Haynes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know anything about Nico Haynes.
He's played 2 games.
Wow.
So it'll be interesting to see how he goes, especially given, some of the extended bench options. So he's clearly in favour with Bellamy getting the nod there. Melbourne lose nothing. I mean, Brandon Smith's obviously a very different style of hooker compared to Cameron Smith. Munster, I think, will just have a field day. I can see Munster chipping over the line for himself or for, Addo Carr just consistently through this match.
Anytime try scorer on Munster, he's always pretty good for that.
Oh, that's just money for jam, that one.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. Like, Watini Zalesniak, when he left the Panthers last year, I was blowing up about it, but seeing how he's playing this year for the Bulldogs, you've got to wonder what's happened to him, eh?
Yeah, well, remember when he left and he threw his toys out of the cot because he wanted to play fullback, and Ivan was, adamant, no, Dylan Edwards is our fullback, so take it or leave it. And he said, well, all right, well, screw you, and left. To now play wing and not play wing very well. So he really is having a form slump, call it what it is. But, what is happening there? You're right. I don't know whether there's something else at play, whether he's just, the same problems as what was at Penrith. I want to play fullback and not on the wing. But, I mean, last week that play the ball was just symptomatic of, I think, everything that's wrong in the world right now. But
that was 2020 play the ball, eh?
Yeah, well, and then I said, what I need to see is a side-by-side of Moses slipping over, kicking that conversion from the week before, and Dallin playing the ball the wrong way, because right there are the 2 images that sums up 2020.
Yeah, I tell you what, if someone can make that video, that will replace my Tony Stagg video. So yeah, that's going to be probably a thrashing. Poor old Bulldogs, but they, as I said, they are playing better under Steve Georgalis, and that's nice to see. I like to see Steve Georgalis getting some accolades because he's taken over an absolutely thankless job. He's going to get zero reward for it. He's done that twice now. He did it at the Panthers as well, and both times when he's taken over, both those teams went better.
Yes, agreed. So, and I think in a different situation to the Bulldogs, to the Broncos, where they just have star players lined up, right across the park, and particularly in that forward pack. The Bulldogs, they've got them littered in there, but they're grinders, they're hard workers. You think about Aiden Tolman, he's just a get in there, no nonsense kind of guy. Probably shouldn't have made that decision last week to take the tap instead of giving the ball to kick for goal. But they're a team of grinders, and I think that's why they get away with, or people are happy to say, they're an effort team. And I know we've been saying that all year. There is reward for effort at the moment, though, coming out of that squad. And whether that's now, they can see the writings on the wall that, there's going to be a new coach coming in, and they're all trying to, give themselves the best possibility to stay in the squad under a new coach, whoever that looks like. Or whether it's Georgalis has got them firing, or a combination of all of those things. I'm pleased to see that they are digging in and not kind of, rolling over and just letting teams walk all over them. Yeah,
like the Titans did at the end of last year when their coach got sacked.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Saturday evening, 5:30 p.m, we've got the 7th place Knights taking on the 10th placed West Tigers. For the Tigers, they've lost Alex Twal. They've lost Harry Grant, which is a massive out for them. And then for the Knights, their notable omissions, Bradman Best, who is going to be out for the majority of the rest of the season. They think they'd get him back for the finals, though. And Moga is also out. But the Knights are going to have Blake Green playing alongside Mitchell Pearce in this game, which will be interesting to see. And for the West Tigers, they've put Moses Mbai in at hooker. And me and Andrew were talking about that move last night, and it ended up being a half-hour conversation about how terrible the West Tigers have been over the last 20 years. We fell back into that last night. But this one, it feels like I've been waiting for the West Tigers to get properly smacked, and I think this could be the game for them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this has got slugfest written all over it.
Oh, really?
I can see just a dour tussle. And I say that because, again, the number 9s, number 9 for the Newcastle Knights at the moment seems to be cursed, but so you've got people paying 9 who that is not their preferred position by any stretch. So they're going to have to manufacture things, which puts a lot more pressure on your halves. I really don't rate Luke Brooks, despite the fact he was named halfback of the year, last year or the year before. I don't know what happened with the voting there, but clearly people were concussed when they were casting their votes, because he's terrible. But what I think, Marshall will absolutely need to take ownership, and I actually think Blake Green should step in and be a bit more commanding. I know it's his first game, probably be a bit more difficult, but he's got the ability, I think, to really steady Mitchell Pearce. And I know we've spoken before, and it's certainly been said on the podcast before, that Pearce goes missing in those tight games and those big games. And at the moment, Ponga is expected to be able to do everything, a la Jared Hayne in 2009, 2010. Just get the ball to Ponga and hope that he can produce something. And the opposition teams are now just aiming up on Ponga, and I think having Blake Green there will give them that extra option. And hopefully kind of drag Pearce through a little bit easier. But I'm not expecting a blowout by any stretch.
So I just think that I think the loss of Harry Grant is going to be pretty big for the Tigers. He's so good at a dummy half. And I don't know, I feel as though after a couple of weeks where the Knights haven't looked great, I think that they've probably got a fair rocket from the coach over the last few weeks. I think that they're just due one of those games where they come out and they look like world beaters, especially up there at home in Newcastle. I don't know what the weather's going to be, but if it's a nice warm day up there.
They're predicting rain across most of New South Wales from Friday, so.
That sucks. Damn.
Yeah. I think the only reason I'm leading towards more of a tight game is being Blake Green's first game in. And I agree with everything that you've just said about they're kind of due.
Yeah.
I actually think next week will be the game where that could happen. And, that's against the Sea Eagles. So that, they're going to be rehashing the 97 grand final crap all over again. It's at McDonald Jones Stadium. So I think that's the game that the Knights will be primed to probably turn it on.
Yeah, hopefully that, wouldn't it be cool to see that game just descend into like a brawl?
And then everybody gets suspended.
Yeah. Well, okay, so now the big match of the round, it's the soon-to-be minor premier Penrith Panthers, the 2020 grand final winners, versus the Canberra Raiders, a team whose soul we own from 1991.
Yes, and they're still salty about it.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. And I never ever bring up the fact that their 1990 team was over the salary cap by miles. So yeah, we own their soul,
and so humble about that.
Yeah, well, look, it's just a historical fact. I didn't make it up; it's a fact. So, look, what can you say about the Panthers? It's unfortunately we're going to be without the greatest try scorer in the history of rugby league in Charlie Staines. He's out. Apparently, he tripped over some kryptonite during the last round, so that was unfortunate. But this is going to be an interesting game because the Raiders, I feel as though, haven't been all that good this year, but they've still had the quality to get by and win some games. I think they're lower down the ladder than most people expected, including myself. This is going to be a test for the Panthers, but it's a game I expect them to win. And if they win this one, there's not too many hurdles. It's really the only team I'd like to see him beat is the Parramatta Eels.
Yeah. I think that the class of Cleary will get them, and Coruscant. I mean, I know everyone has said it, buy of the year by the length of the straight, Appy Coruscant. He has fundamentally shifted how the Panthers play. And, going back to what I said, a little while ago about having a forward pack that actually gives you the go forward, that obviously comes off your dummy half play. And that's Coruscant, every day of the week. And even when he was injured, seeing how Mitch Kenny played, totally different to how Mitch Kenny played last season. And that is obviously Coruscant rubbing off on him and just giving him some pointers about, just the nuances of how to play out of that dummy half role and get the go forward going. Panthers don't lose anything by, Malachi Watene-Zelezniak comes in. He was great last time. He had to step in, scored his first try in first grade, which was great. Stephen Crichton is just a freak every day of the week. When you look at the matchups, if I was putting together the game plan, I am putting everything down to Nadine and Mansell's wing against Croker and Rapana. And then occasionally, throw something back in against Curtis Scott because he's useless. So I think in terms of your centre pairings, Nadine, Croker, Crichton, Scott, Panthers own that every day of the week. Interesting to see how Havili goes this week. He's been a bit slow out of that dummy half position as well. But again, Bateman will be better for the run last week. Be interesting to see how he comes back. I think he's the danger man for Canberra, and they've got Nickel Clockstad back this week too.
Yeah, from that terrible finger injury. He's come back very quickly. Like when I saw that injury, I wondered if his finger was missing. That's how bad it was.
Yeah. I saw some footage of the that he shared on Twitter, and I think NRL Physio retweeted it, but of the stitches. It looks horrific. I don't even know how he's playing this week, but anyway. In terms of bench rotation, Panthers is far superior.
Yeah.
And Harry Wiranira actually, again, same as Bateman, will be better for the run last week, and that'll be an interesting matchup, obviously, given that, he's got quite a good relationship with a lot of those Panthers players as well. So just give the ball to Kickow and let him run wild.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they let him play more in the centre of the field. That they're not using him right. I think early on in the season, they were getting away with it a little bit because teams hadn't really planned that well for it, but now they've planned well for it as the season's gone on. And I just feel as though they need to change it up because the last 6 weeks, I just feel as though he's like when you've got to do that big, most of his game shouldn't be running as a decoy. It should be being a destroyer of worlds. And, they need to get him way more ball. I tell you one player that I think is not getting the accolades he deserves in this Panthers side is Liam Martin. It seems as though whenever the Panthers, they get on a bit of a roll, and just when you would normally have a hit up where you don't get much out of it, Liam Martin comes through like a steamroller and just fights for every single inch that he gets out of the opposition. And he's just so good in that role.
Yeah, and, that's kind of back to that Jake Trbojevic style, just roll the sleeves up, no nonsense, give me the ball and I'll get it done. Isaiah Yeo, very much the same. He's finally starting to get some of the accolades he deserves, and going back to that versatility, if something happens, you push him out to centre and you lose nothing. So, super versatile right across the park in terms of their jobs. I get the feeling with Kickow, though, that Ivan has purposely pulled back in terms of using him. I think that they were probably overplaying their hand when it came to using Kickow, and it was, give him the ball and let him go crazy. There was a game a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember against which team it was, and Kickow came around and ran a line on the right-hand side of the field, and everyone went nuts for it because they weren't expecting it. And that's what I think they need to give him more license to do, actually roam wherever the hell he likes instead of that, corridor, inside Nadine and Mansour, and just, give him free rein. Let him go.
Yeah, I agree. And because you have to put more than one defender on him, because it doesn't matter if it's a prop you're putting on him, that he's going to overpower them. He's probably right up there near Jason Taumalolo in terms of how strong he is. And, you could have a set where he just roams around in the background and just watch the opposition defence freaking out and pointing at him and losing their shit because you have to put a couple of defenders on him. The other thing I like about the Panthers this year is, and this was mentioned by one of the commentators last week, I think it was on Fox Sports, you never get a drop-off in their forwards at the moment because their bench players, like Tedovano was a good signing, and he's not a superstar or anything, but he just keeps it going. There's no drop-off at all. And it's like as a unit with that bench unit as well, man, the Panthers forwards, they're a nightmare to play against because it is 80 minutes of non-stop.
Agreed. Yeah, they're solid right across the park, and there's not a lot of teams you would say that about this season.
No. So we're both tipping the Panthers in that one. 2:00 on Sunday afternoon, we've got the 14th placed Titans playing the 13th placed Cowboys for the battle of the best teams in Queensland.
Well, I am tipping the Titans on this one.
Yeah.
I think I've seen enough out of them in the last couple of weeks to, I think they'll be up for this game as well, being a Queensland derby as such.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's just a feeling I've got that I think they'll get the job done. So, North Queensland have been underwhelming, you've got to say.
Mm-hmm.
They really do rely a lot on individual brilliance from either Taumalolo or Tabawai Fido to, even Kyle Felt to get some of their wins happening. But other than that, they're not offering a lot. So the only issue with the Gold Coast Titans is Ash Taylor. I mean, if he's not on, forget it. So
they're done. Yeah. It's this is. I mean, it's 14 versus 13, so it's a close one. I'm probably leaning towards the Cowboys. They've got Captain Morgan back, which will be interesting. See how he goes. He's been out for a long time though, so you don't know what you're going to get out of him. But yeah, if he wasn't back, I would probably lean towards the Titans. The Titans been building a little bit. They're not building to anything special, but they're at least not getting smacked as much as they used to. And there's a couple of their players that are in decent form. Brian Kelly's in good form at the moment. Anthony Don's another one. So, but this is a flip of the coin game, I think. And if you said to me, why the Cowboys? I'm kind of like you. It's just a little bit of a feeling. I haven't really got more than that for this game. It should be interesting to watch anyway. So we go on to the last game of the round, and it is the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks versus the team will probably beat in the grand final, the Parramatta Eels.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. My head says Parramatta should win this, but in a similar vein to the Roosters, I think they've underperformed relative to how they have been performing overall this season in the last couple of weeks. Obviously it was, well documented this week that Brad Arthur had to ask them if they even wanted to sing the team's song after last week's very scrappy win, which I just think, really? Do you not just celebrate no matter how you won? Look at Stephen Bradbury. He still celebrated and everyone fell over in front of him. Yeah. So, I think this is going to be it's got the ability to be a really good tussle. I really hate both teams, so I kind of don't care who wins, to be fair.
You know what? You don't have to give a result.
I don't care.
Yeah. Who gives a shit? That's the end of the podcast.
I think it will be Parramatta. My head says Parramatta purely based on where the teams are on the ladder. That is it. That's my only reasoning for giving that. Do I care who wins? No. Actually, no. If I want Penrith to have a bigger lead, then I want Cronulla to win. Let's go with that. Well,
the Cronulla Sharks have Matt Moylan back, so I hope Parramatta wins by about 60 or 70. That would be nice. But I agree with you. I think Parramatta has been out of form for probably a good 3 weeks now. The quality sides can be out of form and still win games, which is good for Parramatta. But, yeah, I feel as though they need a little bit of a kick up the backside to get back to where they were like a month or so ago, where they looked like the class of the competition, and now that is very firmly in the Panthers' possession. It's going to be an interesting contest just to see, like the Sharks being in 6th place is like some sort of minor miracle in my opinion, and that they're only 3 places behind the Eels is kind of weird when you think about it. So I have a feeling that the Eels might put one on the Sharks, because the Sharks are a little bit of bully boys of the competition. They go well against the teams that are terrible, and I expect the Eels to really show them where the difference in class is for this game.
Yeah, when you look at the teams, Wade Graham, I think, is the X factor for the Sharks.
Yeah,
as well as Blake Brayley. He's got the ability to really crack something open out of dummy half. And I think if the Sharks were to win, it would be off the back of those two in particular.
I also expect Aaron Woods to get through a lot of cuddles in this game, especially on Junior Paulo. I think that he's going to lovingly cuddle him as the third man in quite a lot.
Quite a lot. That's his specialty.
In fact, I'd like to see Aaron Woods cuddle Reagan Campbell-Gillard.
Well, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just the visuals of that, it's just anyway. So that's the round. That is round. What is it? Round 13 now.
Round
We're up
13.
To? Round 13. We're starting to get through the season. It's going to be an interesting round of football. Obviously, the Saturday night game is the one you and me really. It's the only game that matters when we beat the Raiders. And so, it's been awesome having you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's been a while. We need to get you on more often, hey?
I know, sadly, I think I'm one of the few people who, through the pandemic, my work has increased, not decreased.
No, jeez. It's like
time eludes me.
to be fair, it has been you and Andrew. Andrew is like, I think that he is shoveling gold coins somewhere during the pandemic. So,
although I'm clearly faring better, given that he is now in a state that is declared itself in disaster, and we can't have nice things because of them.
Yeah,
but I do feel for them. That would be a terrible situation to be in, particularly being in curfew. I mean, that's horrendous just to even think about that. So, shout out to Andrew. I don't know how he's doing it.
Yeah, shout out, Andrew. If you'd like to come on the podcast one day too, Andrew, that would be great. I love teasing him about that. So, great having you on the podcast. We'll get you on. We're going to get you on with Katie as well. We'll try and do it in a night time when you can have a little bit of a Chardonnay or something. That'd be good.
Well, I've actually stopped drinking. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not COVID related, just health related.
Okay.
I know. So getting through COVID without drinking, there's the challenge.
Yeah, that is a challenge. I have not had a really hard drinking session for a long time, but every so often I'll break out some beer. There was one night where me and Andrew were going to do a history episode, and I jumped on, and I think he didn't even need to say it, but Andrew knew. It was like, League Freak is not doing a history episode like this. So,
oh dear.
Yeah, that was a good one. But yeah, we'll get you and Katie on together, and we'll try and make some magic happen out of that. And listen, thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. It means the
my pleasure.
It seriously, it means the world to us. Like I can't even put it into words. It's like I can't believe anybody supports me on Patreon, to be honest with you. And so when people started jumping on board, I was like, I got really emotional about it. It was kind of weird.
Well, it just shows, that people are sick of mainstream media. I use that term loosely, and the hyperbole that gets spewed out, by them, and just the constant patting on the back and self-interest and all of that. So, certainly what I've noticed in the last 6 months in particular, and particularly obviously we had the pandemic and the main broadcasters were scrambling for content, just the rise of independent news sources. And, yes, it's the same news, but it's reported differently, or factually, and without sensationalism. And I think that is something that at the moment, when we're already surrounded by enough sensationalism, just getting the hard facts as they are, and none of the fluff around it, the off-field stuff, which I know both you and Andrew are well and truly on the record about not covering. People really like that, and that's what people want to go back to, rather than this constant cesspool of self-love.
Yeah. Although we are about self-love here.
Like. Well, it's fine. You can do it on your own podcast.
But yeah, it is interesting to see how the pandemic has changed people's expectations, and it's with that gap between the mainstream media and what the independents are doing, and the independent outlets are producing better quality, and they're going more in that direction. Whereas the mainstream media, it's like they're just in a race to the bottom. It's really weird.
It's disgusting. It really is. And I find myself getting angry at the TV now.
Same.
So I just either stop watching or I, put it on mute or whatever. But no, I think what you guys are doing is absolutely what is needed. And I hope that, the NRL and New South Wales Rugby League and Country Rugby League and, all the relevant industry bodies actually start recognising that there is a place and a need for, those independent media outlets and sources.
Yeah. That's I've got to say, I can't think of any that we've had people that have been involved in the NRL, obviously, that have been more than welcome, or more than willing to come on. So we have yet to get a no, which is really cool. And it's interesting, and we like the guests we get on. We get a lot of people that we like to talk with, obviously, but we've sort of aimed for our guests a bit differently to a lot of other podcasts have, and in some cases we've lucked out. Like we've we'll talk to Casey Badger when all of a sudden there's a big, thing about referees, or, we talked to Alan Pearce, and it just so happened to be at a time when concussions were very big in the news cycle. And so we've lucked out a couple of times, but we've been really, really lucky for guests, and hopefully it continues, and we can keep giving everyone a podcast they can enjoy on their drives to and from work, or when they're sitting at home with their feet up, eating pulled pork sandwiches. I know that's what you're doing, Nadine. I know you just sit there all day waiting for Bold and the Beautiful to come on at 4:30. I know your plan.
I record it and watch it later.
Oh, that's hilarious. All I know is that Brooke Taylor, she's a slut.
It's not Brooke Taylor.
It is Brooke Taylor.
No, it's not. It's Brooke Forrester. You're getting two characters mixed up. There was Brooke and Taylor, and they both love Ridge.
Oh, no, hang on. No, yeah, you're right. Is her name Brooke Logan? No, I am right. Her name's Brooke Logan.
Correct.
Not that I watch it or know anything that we're talking about, okay?
No, not at all.
Got to also watch that Steffi.
You just happened to see it on a magazine in the supermarket.
Yeah, I didn't even know what I was looking at, I was like, fuck, man. Can't believe Spectre is still going at Forrester Creations. So... Oh, man.
That's so true.
I just burnt my man card.
You just revealed far more about yourself than I think people would care to know.
I revealed more than I'm going to reveal right now that our sponsor, Manscaped, has a Lawnmower 3.0. You've got to try it out, okay? I'm telling you, it is brilliant. Go there, put in the code NRL at manscaped.com, and you'll get 20% off. You'll get free shipping. You will love it. Trust me on that. It is brilliant. Thank you so much, Nadine, for coming on the podcast. You're an
welcome.
Absolute legend. You're always welcome on here anytime. And we will see everyone very soon.